at Liberty University, we're not interested in making sure people of color are invited to sit in the bus or even sit at the restaurant table. We want to see them own the bus and own the restaurant. So we're with you on that. On protecting the vulnerable, I think our students were more passionate about that, sir, than any other thing. The questions that they wanted to know went way beyond just wealth inequality, went way beyond. We certainly had those kind of things. But on protecting the vulnerable, this was probably the #1 type of question that we got here, Senator. Senator Sanders, you've talked in your campaign about how it is immoral to protect the billionaire class at the expense of our most vulnerable in society, obviously children. You just mentioned that even in your talk with us earlier. A majority of Christians would agree with you, but here's the question. A majority of Christians would agree with you, but would also go further and say that children in the womb need our protection even more. How do you reconcile So the question, sir, is obviously you can see this is what they want to ask. Well, this is what's on there. How do you reconcile the two? And again, I know that you have a different view. I know that you, sir, and I don't have to be eye to eye on it, but I sense a real sincerity in you in wanting to see our children protected. Can you see, sir, how we see the child in the womb as the most vulnerable that needs protection?
I do understand.
Yes, sir.
But I do also understand this is an area where we disagree. I do understand and I do believe that it is improper for the United States government or state government to tell every woman in this country the very painful and difficult choice that she has to make on that issue. And I honestly don't want to be too provocative here, but very often conservatives say, you know, get the government out of my life. I don't want the government telling me what to do. But on this very sensitive issue, of which this nation is divided, a lot of people agree with you, a lot of people agree with me. But my view is, I respect absolutely a family that says, no, we are not going to have an abortion. I understand that. I respect that. But I would hope that other people respect the very painful and difficult choice that many women feel they have to make and don't want the government telling them what they have to do. But I want to take that question a step further, David.
Please.
We do disagree on that issue. No ifs and buts about it. I respect your point of view. I hope you'll respect my point of view. But here's where I hope we have common ground. Now, I've not tried to be partisan during my remarks. I have not. But I'm going to be partisan for a moment because I want to lay this on your shoulders. I am the ranking member of the U.S. Senate Budget Committee. That means I lead the Democrats in opposition. Republicans control the House and the Senate. Now, I want to tell you what was in the Republican budget that passed a number of months ago. Check it out. You're thinking I'm not telling you the truth. When you talk about issues of children, understand, Republican budget threw 27 million people off of health care, including many children. At a time when many families cannot afford to send their kids to college. And I am running on a program, by the way, that says every public college and university in America should be tuition free. But at a time when families cannot afford to send their kids to college, Republican budget cut $90 billion in Pell Grants over a 10-year period. At a time when children in America are going hungry, Republican budget cut billions of dollars in nutrition programs, including money for the WIC program, which goes to low-income pregnant women and their babies. And to add insult to injury, in that budget, the Republicans provided over $250 billion over a 10-year period in tax breaks to the top 0.2%. I don't think that is a moral budget.
I don't pretend to be an expert on budgets, but I think a lot of us would be very interested in our government budgeting for Planned Parenthood. I think a lot of us would be very interested in looking at those budgets, and I think they get a lot more complex as well. We were just in for just one more question here, sir, for a last question on religious freedom. A lot of our questions from our students were really, I think, we're just very peppered with concern and brokenheartedness when they see the world around them. And I think this is where I genuinely sense in you, you're a lot like a father figure. You know, when you watch
a grandfather figure. I'm getting older every day.
and I sense that same concern in your heart as we would have. But here's the question in that frame. We're watching on the news a refugee crisis in Syria and religious minorities facing persecution in the Middle East. How do you feel the United States should respond? How do you feel that? Do you feel that as the United States that we should be obligated more than we even are now in responding, and that there would be a stewardship of responsibility on the greatest nation in the world to step in even at a greater level in those kind of things?
Well, obviously, David, the answer is yes, but I don't quite know what the word step in means. If the question is, do we have a moral responsibility, not just alone, but to work with Europe, and by the way, to work with some of these very, very wealthy Gulf region countries like Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Kuwait, to help stem this human tragedy, which all of us are seeing. Can you imagine people leaving their homes in Syria or Iraq with simply the clothes on their back, dragging their kids with them? Do we have a moral responsibility to work with the rest of the world in providing help, bringing some of those people into this country? The answer is absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. But this is where it gets tricky. That's, in a sense, a reasonably easy response. We should do that. Here's where it becomes harder. All of you know that the Middle East and other parts of the world are a real quagmire. We're living in a pretty crazy and dangerous world. We see horror stories every single day of ISIS and people doing barbaric things. We all know that. And this is where it really gets tough. I voted against the war in Iraq. And I voted against that war because I worried very much, and if you read what I wrote at that time, you'll find what I'm telling you is the truth, about the instability and destabilization that would bring about. So the question of U.S. military force, becomes part of this discussion. And let me just say this. I am the former chairman of the United States Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs. And I would hope that this is an area all of us can agree on, that we are going to provide all of the health care and benefits that our veterans need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have to take care of our own. Absolutely.
But the cost of war, David, is something that is far greater, I fear, than most people know. And before we go off to war, we have got to make certain that we have explored every other possible option. People may not know this, but as the former chairman, I do. In Iraq and Afghanistan, we lost 6,700 brave men and women. Many came home without legs and arms and eyesight. 500,000 of them came home with post-traumatic stress disorder or traumatic brain injury. Their lives have been totally disrupted. Families have been separated. Children have suffered. A great nation like the United States of America, with the most powerful military on earth, in my view, should use every possible opportunity to resolve international conflict without going to war. War should be the last resort.
Please give him a warm welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. President Falwell and David, thank you very much for inviting my wife Jane and me to be with you this morning. We appreciate the invitation very much. And let me start off by acknowledging what I think all of you already know, and that is the views that many here at Liberty University have and I on a number of important issues are very, very different. I believe in women's rights and the right of a woman to control her own body. I believe in gay rights and gay marriage. Those are my views, and it is no secret. But I came here today, invitation very much. And let me start off by acknowledging what I think all of you already know, and that is the views that many here at Liberty University have and I on a number of important issues are very, very different. I believe in women's rights and the right of a woman to control her own body. I believe in gay rights and gay marriage. Those are my views, and it is no secret. But I came here today because I believe from the bottom of my heart that it is vitally important for those of us who hold different views to be able to engage in a civil discourse. Too often in our country, and I think both sides bear responsibility for us, there is too much shouting at each other. There is too much making fun of each other. Now, in my view, and I say this as somebody whose voice is hoarse because I have given dozens of speeches in the last few months, it is easy to go out and talk to people who agree with you. I was in Greensboro, North Carolina just last night. All right, we had 9,000 people out. Mostly they agreed with me, and tonight we're going to be in Manassas and have thousands out, and they agree with me. That's not hard to do, and that's what politicians by and large do. We go out and we talk to people who agree with us. But it is harder, but not less important, for us to try and communicate with those who do not agree with us on every issue. And it is important to see where, if possible, and I do believe it's possible, we can find common grounds. Now, Liberty University is a religious school, obviously. And all of you are proud of that. You are a school which, as all of us in our own way, tries to understand the meaning of morality. What does it mean to live a moral life? And you try to understand in this very complicated modern world that we live in what the words of the Bible mean in today's society. You are a school which tries to teach its students how to behave with decency and with honesty, and how you can best relate to your fellow human beings, and I applaud you for trying to achieve those goals. Let me take a moment, or a few moments, to tell you what motivates me in the work that I do as a public servant, as a senator from the state of Vermont. And let me tell you that it goes without saying, I am far from being a perfect human being, but I am motivated by a vision which exists in all of the great religions, in Christianity and Judaism, in Islam, in Buddhism, and other religions. And that vision is so beautifully and clearly stated in Matthew 7:12. And it states, "So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets." That is the golden rule. Do unto others what you would have them do to you. That is the golden rule, and it is not very complicated. Let me be frank, as I said a moment ago. I understand that the issues of abortion and gay marriage are issues that you feel very strongly about. We disagree on those issues. I get that. But let me respectfully suggest that there are other issues out there that are of enormous consequence to our country and, in fact, to the entire world, that maybe, just maybe, we do not disagree on. And maybe, just maybe, we can try to work together to resolve them. Amos 5:24, "But let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never-failing stream." Justice, treating others the way we want to be treated, treating all people, no matter their race, their color, their stature in life, with respect and with dignity. Now, here is my point. Some of you may agree with me, and some of you may not. But in my view, it would be hard for anyone in this room today to make the case that the United States of America, our great country, a country which all of us love, it would be hard to make the case that we are a just society or anything resembling a just society today. In the United States of America today, there is massive injustice in terms of income and wealth inequality. Injustice is rampant. We live, and I hope all of you know this, in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. But most Americans don't know that, because almost all of that wealth and income is going to the top 1%. Now, that's the truth. We are living at a time, and I want all of you, if you would, put this in the context of the Bible, not me, in the context of the Bible. We are living at a time where a handful of people have wealth beyond comprehension. And I'm talking about tens of billions of dollars, enough to support their families for thousands of years, with huge yachts and jet planes and tens of billions. More money than they would ever know what to do with. But at that very same moment, there are millions of people in our country, let alone the rest of the world, who are struggling to feed their families. They are struggling to put a roof over their heads, and some of them are sleeping out on the streets. They are struggling to find money in order to go to a doctor when they are sick. Now, when we talk about morality, and when we talk about justice, we have to, in my view, understand that there is no justice when so few have so much and so many have so little. There is no justice, and I want you to hear this clearly, when the top 1/10 of 1%, not 1%, the top 1/10 of 1% today in America owns almost as much wealth as the bottom 90%. And in your hearts, you will have to determine the morality of that and the justice of that. In my view, there is no justice when here in Virginia and Vermont and all over this country, millions of people are working long hours for abysmally low wages of $7.25 an hour, of $8 an hour, of $9 an hour, working hard but unable to bring in enough money to adequately feed their kids. And yet at that same time, 58% of all new income generated is going to the top 1%. You have got to think about the morality of that, the justice of that, and whether or not that is what we want to see in our country. In my view, there is no justice when, in recent years, we have seen a proliferation of millionaires and billionaires, while at the same time, the United States of America has the highest rate of childhood poverty of any major country on earth. How can we, I want you to go into your hearts, how can we talk about morality, about justice, when we turn our backs on the children of our country? Now, you have got to think about it. You have to think about it and you have to feel it in your guts. Are you content? Do you think it's moral that 20% of the children in this country, the wealthiest country in the history of the world, are living in poverty? Do you think it is acceptable that 40% of African American children are living in poverty? In my view, there is no justice, and morality suffers when in our wealthy country, millions of children go to bed hungry. That is not morality. And that, in my view, is not what America should be about. In my view, there is no justice when the 15 wealthiest people in this country in the last 2 years saw their wealth increased by $170 billion. 2 years. Wealthiest 15 people in this country saw their wealth increase by $170 billion. Everybody here, we all are, maybe in different ways, but all of us believe in family values. Jane and I have 4 kids. We have 7 beautiful grandchildren. We believe in family values. But it is not a family value when all of you know that the most important moments in time of a human being's life is the first weeks and months after that baby is born. That is the moment when mother bonds with the baby, gets to love and know her baby, and dad is there as well. That is what a family is about. And those of you, or at least those of you who are parents, more parents back here than there, I suspect, you know what an unforgettable moment that is, what an important moment that is. And I want you to think whether you believe it is a family value that the United States of America is the only major country on earth that does not provide paid family and medical leave. Now, in English, what that means is that all over the world, when a woman has her baby, she is guaranteed the right, because society understands how important that moment is. She is guaranteed the right to stay home and get income in order to nurture her baby. And that is why I believe, when we talk about family values, that the United States government must provide at least 12 weeks of paid family and medical leave. In my view, there is no justice in our country when youth unemployment exists at tragically high levels. I requested a study last month from a group of economists, and what they told me is that the United States government, 51% of African American high school graduates between the ages of 17 and 20 are unemployed or underemployed. 51%. We have in this country sufficient amounts of money to put more people in jail than any other country on earth. The United States has more people in jail than China, a communist authoritarian country. But apparently we do not have enough money to provide jobs and education to our young people. I believe that's wrong. I am not a theologian. I am not an expert on the Bible, nor am I a Catholic. I am just a United States Senator from the small state of Vermont. But I agree with Pope Francis, who will soon be coming to visit us in the United States. I agree with Pope Francis when he says, and I quote, "The current financial crisis originated in a profound human crisis, the denial of the primacy of the human person." And this is what he writes: "We have created new idols. The worship of the ancient golden calf has returned in a new and ruthless guise, in the idolatry of money and the dictatorship of an impersonal economy lacking a truly human purpose." End of quote. And the Pope also writes, quote, "There is a need for financial reform along ethical lines that would produce in its turn an economic reform to benefit everyone. Money has to serve, not to rule." End of quote. Now, those are pretty profound words, which I hope we will all think about. In the Pope's view, and I agree with him, we are living in a nation and in a world, and the Bible speaks to this issue, in a nation and in a world which worships not love of brothers and sisters, not love of the poor and the sick, but worships the acquisition of money and great wealth. I do not believe that is the country we should be living in. Money and wealth should serve the people. The people should not have to serve money and wealth. Throughout human history, there has been endless discussion. It is part of who we are as human beings, people who think and ask questions. Endless discussion and debate about the meaning of justice and about the meaning of morality. And I know that here at Liberty University, those are the kinds of discussions you have every day, and those are the kinds of discussions you should be having, and the kind of discussions we should be having all over America. I would hope, and I conclude with this thought, I would hope very much that as part of that discussion and part of that learning process, some of you will conclude that if we are honest in striving to be a moral and just society, it is imperative that we have the courage to stand with the poor, to stand with working people, and when necessary, take on very powerful and wealthy people whose greed, in my view, is doing this country enormous harm. Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Need a website? Go to Wix.com. Just add your photos. Change your texts. Drag and drop anything. Create your stunning website today. Go to Wix.com. It's easy and free.
Did you hear that?
Hear what?
Are you sure this line is clean?
Later, when they find out the call was traced, it somehow doesn't occur to Morpheus or Trinity that Cypher is either bad at his job or just a dick. Why does Trinity, or anyone for that matter from the Nebuchadnezzar, need to physically jack into the Matrix to keep an eye on Neo? Doesn't Morpheus watch him and see and guide his every move in the office building in just a few minutes? I love this opening scene as much as anyone, but it's still pretty unnecessary in the grand scheme of keeping an eye on Neo.
I think we can handle one little girl.
Hey, how come the agents don't already know it's Trinity? How come they didn't leap into one of the cops in room 303 with Trinity at gunpoint the second they burst into the room and saw her? Or once she started kicking ass?
That's impossible.
I'm guessing Agent Smith and his two partners go around with the Men in Black memory eraser after these missions, doing impossible stunts, jumping into other people and taking over their bodies. This gives away the idea of the Matrix to normal people, right? Agent sees Trinity running, but instead of shooting her or chasing after her, decides to watch her run away as if he's never seen running before. Why is the light swinging? I admit it's a cool shot, but it wasn't hit by debris or even the wind when she dove through the window. And it stops swinging in the next shot as evidenced by the light not moving. The agents have to visually confirm someone like Trinity in order to know exactly where she is. So how did the agents know to morph into this truck driver? How did they know which phone booth she would be headed for? Trinity's a dead woman if Agent Smith doesn't stop and wait here for a few seconds to give the movie's plot a chance to even happen. Come to think of it, why did he even feel compelled to turn the vehicle? Couldn't he have just smashed into the phone booth on his way down the street? Truck does a Fred Flintstone tire spin to buy Trinity even more time to barely escape. Truck is always further away than it was the last time we saw it so that this escape is possible.
We have the name of their next target.
The name is Neo. We'll need a search running.
Why? Are the humans able to use computers inside your computer program to find a person by his alias faster than, well, computers are? How do you not know who and where Neo is instantly? Neo is somehow awakened by online chat. What is this bullshit on Neo's computer monitor?
My own personal Jesus Christ.
Movie hits the Jesus metaphor a little square on the head.
Something wrong, man? You look a little whiter than usual.
That's racist.
It's called mescaline. It's the only way to fly.
Movie promptly dates itself 9 minutes in with a reference to mescaline, of all drugs. Why not angel dust or speedballs? I know Morpheus could probably tell these assholes were coming to Neo's apartment, but how the f did he know the girl with the white rabbit tattoo would turn her shoulder to expose the tattoo? And how did he know Neo would see it? Isn't this follow the white rabbit shit just a bit too coy when the fate of the world is in the balance?
My name is Trinity.
Trinity? As in Father, Son, and Holy Ghost? Wait, does this movie have religious symbolism?
And it will find you.
Why was it so important to have Neo go to the club just to tell him the Matrix is real and it will find him? I mean, couldn't you have typed that on the computer instead of follow the white rabbit? Computer software company has no mechanisms in place to determine when flaky employees are just sitting in their cubicle meditating instead of doing actual work. It seems like Trinity could have given him this phone last night at the club, but Morpheus relies on FedEx to send it to him. Hell, they could even have been talking well before Neo went into work today and he could have avoided this altogether. Also, this phone is conveniently delivered just before the agents show up. How is Morpheus able to see Neo's location and guide him through the building, but the agents who are connected to this entire computer system called the Matrix have no idea where Neo is?
What's this happening to me? What'd I do?
Computer hacker and illegal software salesman asks why me as FBI people chase him around his workplace. I know we're in the Matrix right now, but why doesn't this thing carving its way into Neo's belly button leave any blood anywhere?
Then go to the Adam Street Bridge.
Morpheus gives Neo a meet location on a tapped phone, and miraculously no agents are there waiting for him when he arrives.
I think you're bugged.
Not that it's mattered from the time you left your apartment to go to the Adam Street Bridge to getting in a mysterious car. Also, why bug Neo in the first place? Can't you just track his movements through the Matrix itself?
Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
That statement actually couldn't be less true. Dramatic thunder and lightning is dramatic.
It means buckle your seatbelt, Dorothy, because Kansas is going bye-bye.
Dramatic thunder and lightning is repetitive. Here's that guy Morpheus was interested in, Better disconnect him and totally forget why he woke up in the first place. Neo pulls out this IV without knowing what it does or whether it keeps him alive.
We have only bits and pieces of information.
So all the stuff that doesn't make sense, we'll just chalk up to that.
Birth to AI.
AI, you mean artificial intelligence?
Well, you're a hacker. So yeah, you know what AI means.
We don't know who struck first, but we know that it was us that scorched the sky.
What? How? And how does that keep the sun out? Did they blow up the sun? How is that accomplished? How do you know about this very specific detail and nothing else?
The Oracle prophesied his return.
Prophecy that one man will save us all cliché.
I believe that search is over.
What is it that made Morpheus think Neo was the one? He's a computer hacker who works at a software company. No skills in the area of badassery. Nothing incredibly notable accomplished in his life. What was the one thing that said, yep, this dude is totally worth going through lots of trouble to unplug from the Matrix?
Near the Earth's core where it's still warm?
Oh, come on. It's probably a lot more than warm, right? The sun doesn't have anything to do with the core temperature. That shit is hot because of a variety of factors, including radioactive decay and awesome science stuff. Even if he's talking about the mantle, that shit is too hot. People would be burned alive going to Zion.
Whoa.
Squiddy sweeping in quick.
Why do the human ships have radar-like ability to detect squiddies at greater distances than the squiddies can detect human ships? Why didn't the machines just put motion detection sensors all over the place so the human ships would be unable to move at all without being spotted? Why are the squiddies programmed only to look for electrical signatures of the human ships instead of biological signs of life, or hell, large metal things that are hovercraft shaped?
The Matrix?
Do you always look at it encoded?
Well, you have to.
Wait, so when Morpheus was guiding Neo through the office cubicles, was he actually looking at falling green lines of code? Is this movie actually saying these people learn how to see real images in this code? Isn't Cypher jacked into some machine back at the ship? Is everyone asleep? There's not one person who could just happen to walk by and see Cypher hooked into the Matrix and see him talking with an agent? And how does Cypher get back? I thought it required someone back at the ship to wake you up and get you out of the Matrix with a hardline. Is this the first time he's eaten since he got here? After all that training and shit? He should be well aware of the awful non-Matrix food. It's very cool, but how do they make a connection on this call if there's no one on the other end to pick it up? Like, Neo will be racing for a ringing phone by the end of this movie, and if he could just pick it up instead of getting shot, he'd establish the connection and transport back out. But leaping into the Matrix, they still use real phone lines, but it's apparently just for show? I honestly don't know. Fuck it.
We're in.
Wait, they went back into the Matrix to see the Oracle? So is the Oracle part of the Matrix, or is she plugged in somewhere? Don't even bring up the sequels when you defend this shit either.
I can only show you the door. You have to walk through it.
What an asshole.
What was said was for you, and for you alone.
Which is why I told you what the Oracle told me while we were on the elevator.
Deja vu.
This has kind of always bothered me, even though it's actually really cool and I accept it as a fantastic idea, but this is not deja vu as we humans normally experience it. You don't see something and then see an absolute repeat of it 2 seconds later and go, wow, deja vu and shit. You usually experience something and feel like you've done it before, but it feels like you did it long ago. And chalk this up to plot convenience, even though it's awesome. The hole wasn't there when they opened the door, but they basically kicked a hole in the wall without anyone hearing. Amazing! Neo should definitely be dead from these bullets,
and we
but
begin
it's not time for this movie's bad guys to have
home
good
to the
aim yet.
world's least fun Castro district.
Damn, Smith is taking this like he's a mannequin or something.
Cuba made history.
Yeah, no, still not time for good aim. Why are there, like, no agents down here? Stopping these guys from going back to the ship is an important part of the plan. In fact, why don't they send 20 or 100 agents for a mission like this?
You all look the same to me.
That's racist. Tank takes 2 hits from the electricity gun but lives and is basically fine, even while only 1 brief shot from the same gun later takes out Cypher completely.
That red pill right up your ass!
You can see Morpheus blink at the wind power of Cypher's P in Pill.
Just pull a plug here.
Murderous Traitor conveniently kills good guys in the order of their importance to the remainder of the story.
No, I don't believe it.
I don't believe it either.
The leader of every ship is giving codes to Zion's mainframe computer.
So you can't just send a message to Zion and say, yo, change the codes. They got Morpheus and they're gonna make him talk. Peace.
Those are agents holding him. 3 of them.
I know, I can't believe it's not more either.
That's why I have to go.
Why?
Because I believe in something.
What?
Neo stopped short of explaining himself twice in a row so that Trinity and Tank have to ask him what the hell he's talking about.
Every mammal on this planet.
What mammals? Are there still other mammals out there? Are they hooked up to the Matrix too? Dreaming about being in fields and getting taken down by mountain lions? Because there sure as hell aren't any other mammals in the real world, what with the sky scorched and all. Why are you talking about all the planet's other now dead mammals in the present tense, you ass? Still not time for good aim. Using lift instead of elevator proves we're not in an American city. So these guys with radios heard the call for backup in the lobby, but didn't deem it an important matter until all the backup SWAT guys died too? Why are they bursting in to tell Smith about it instead of leaping into the SWAT guys 30 seconds ago and killing Neo? What the hell is this agent waiting for? They don't see you! Trinity! Oh, now he pulls out the gun. And as you can see, pulling it out now has terrible disadvantages, like Neo being able to dodge the bullets.
Only human.
Even agents with artificial intelligence have to say some bullshit just before they kill someone so that the hero can be saved at the last second.
Dodge this.
However, when the roles are reversed and the good guy has to say some bullshit, apparently there is not enough time for the bad guy to get saved. Honestly, I know he's the one and everything, but even the one would have a hard time seeing the agents he wants to kill and the Morpheus he doesn't want to kill from this perspective, especially with the sprinklers going crazy on the inside. I guess Morpheus just finally realized there are no handcuffs. This is the one and only moment in the movie when the bad guy has good aim. When he's being rained on by sprinklers firing blind from behind a wall.
The Oracle. She told you exactly what you needed to hear.
Okay, fine. We're gonna go with that Star Wars stuff where Obi-Wan said Anakin Skywalker was dead, and then later we find out, oh, it was just a perspective I had that wasn't misleading in any way whatsoever. But did Neo really need to hear the Oracle's prophecy about Morpheus sacrificing his life for him, and he'd have to make a choice? Wouldn't he have made the choice to try and save Morpheus anyway? Also, why did she literally spell out the future for everyone else that saw her and only get all reverse psychology on Neo? This spelling of authorized proves we're not in an American city. I guarantee you there are 100 other homeless people reacting to things like pedestrians, air, the sky, the traffic lights with just as much enthusiasm as this guy does, and it doesn't set off any alarms in the Matrix. How does the information from this f***er's just woke up vision stand out to the machines as important from all the other shit homeless people are seeing and getting excited about all over the city?
Neo, I want to tell you something.
Something that can wait until after we're back on the ship, but feel the need to delay you with right now. Train drives through an empty station and never stops because it only comes during dramatic moments cliché.
Help! Need a little help. The door!
The one can't find a door in plain view, which was his only option. How is it possible that none of the Nebuchadnezzar crew remember this building from the opening scene like Agent Smith does? Especially Trinity, who was f***ing there. Even though Neo's mind believed himself to be dead, the power of boners is far stronger.
And then I'm going to show these people what you don't want them to see.
For instance, the 2 sequels to this movie. Also, the 2 sequels to this movie.
It's the only way to fly.
Get up, Trinity.
Wiggle your big toe.
The answer is out there, Neo. It's looking for you. And it will find you.
And I will kill you. Understand? Then hit me, if you can.
Sweep the leg. You have a problem with that?
Got the basic layout. Bookstore, cafe, almost everything else is here too.
Who are the people?
Projections of my subconscious.
Yours?
Yes. Remember, you are the dreamer. You build this world. I am the subject. My mind populates it. You can literally talk to my subconscious. That's one of the ways we extract information from the subject.
We're going in. Taking Neo to see her.
See who?
The Oracle.
Who is this?
It's Jake from State Farm.
What are you wearing, Jake from State Farm?
Khakis?
She sounds hideous.
I'm not afraid anymore. Who told me that I would fall in love and that the man that I loved would be the one.
Okay, we get it. The Matrix. Digital! Program me! This is Neo's dream about Trinity dying, and it's so detailed he dreams of the guy clocking out at the end of his shift. Was the motorcycle rigged with C4 or something? Ah, a full 0.001% of the bullets fired in this scene found their target. Opening scene was just a dream cliche. Also, so much for that I'm gonna show these people a world without you mission that Neo promised at the end of the first Matrix.
I can't say I fully understand your reasons for volunteering.
Well, I can say it. The guy that played Tank got all divish and demanded too much money, causing the screenwriters to invent both Link and his reason for joining the crew.
That's right.
That can't be.
Why not?
Morpheus somehow heard this conversation all the way back here.
Morpheus, glad you could join us.
Niobe.
Movie finds a clunky way to let us know what Niobe's name is.
We're gonna do what Commander Locke ordered us to do. We'll evacuate broadcast level and return to Zion.
So why the meeting? Why didn't everyone head back to Zion after the order? Is it so Morpheus could suggest one of the ships stay behind?
How did you know someone was here?
This dude is somehow unaware of Neo's supernatural powers. Also, showdown number 1 with Agent Smith pushed to later in the film because I guess Smith just wants to play games and be coy, but also probably the script. Look, I get it. You're trying to show that Neo is so f***ing awesome at fighting that he's really only humoring these assholes, and even with upgrades, they still can't beat him. The problem is, that's f***ing boring. And also, I think the Wachowskis are the only people on planet Earth who forgot Neo could disintegrate agents by jumping into them, because he doesn't do any of that in this entire movie. Also, I truly believe this movie suffers from the same issue plaguing most Superman movies. The hero is too indestructible for us to give a shit during the action sequences. Alright, now that I've killed these agents, time to fly out of here and go to the Oracle's apartment all of a sudden.
Is Neo okay?
Okay, shit.
Morpheus, you should have seen him.
It was exactly like the first movie, only way more boring. Also, it was Trinity who asked the question, but Morpheus is the one with the phone, so how did Link hear her? And why did he specifically address Morpheus with that answer?
He's doing this Superman thing.
Oh, so he's breaking someone's neck? Also, DC Comics. Rubber Neo number 1. If the Oracle's true message in the first movie was know thyself, and it was, then why are Neo and the others completely powerless to do anything without hearing from her again? Last time they were positive they needed her advice, and she told Neo he wasn't the one. An outright lie. Stalking. These people are jacked into some sort of flight control matrix? Down in Zion? Why the f*** for? Movie rips off the robot mech suits from Aliens. Also, this asshole quit doing his job before the gate closed completely. Slacker.
I want the ship ready to go as soon as humanly possible.
I thought that was the point of your ship coming back anyway. You needed to recharge, you have 36 hours to go back. I guess this is a long way of me saying unnecessary orders. Also, this is just a bunch of clips. And a mag light maybe. And I think a meat thermometer.
What is it between them?
Neo knows there's a deeper story here because the script said exposition scene at the top of the page.
What is it between them?
Morpheus and Locke? Niobe.
Also, Neo plays the pronoun game so that Trinity has to ask who the hell he means by them.
Doesn't he have anything better to do?
You know what they say about the life you save.
It's worth 2 in the bush? You either saw the Animatrix or you didn't. Either way, you're probably wondering why they crammed this stupid kid into this movie.
I told you, kid, you found me.
Neo makes a casual reference to a far better Matrix film. Steampunk Office is steampunk.
I don't care about oracles or prophecies or messiahs.
Bad guy speaks for the audience.
Neo.
Not everyone believes what you believe.
Come on, you mean all the stuff Neo did in the first movie is simply a legend? Nobody knows the story of how Neo flew into an agent and destroyed him? Everyone was like, psh, that Morpheus, he's always telling tales.
God damn, it's good to be home.
Home is a piece of shit. This pan-down shot is kinda cool, but it greatly exaggerates the size of Zion's population and requisite housing infrastructure requirements. Needy people cockblock. Also, the philosophy that Neo is some sort of Jesus becomes mind-numbingly literal.
Where's my puss?
How many girlfriends would let you refer to them as your pussy? My guess is none. Awesome badass chick Gina Torres from Aliens, Firefly, and Angel gets about 30 seconds in this movie.
Tank and Doja believed him.
After all that bullshit with Tank surviving in the last movie, this movie decides that Tank died. Somehow. Without explanation since then. Basically, f*** you, Tank.
Been seeing Neo do the things he can do.
Like what? Flying and calmly beating up agents? Shit, we saw all that in the first movie.
I give you Morpheus.
Polarizing figure Morpheus somehow gets cheers from 99% of the crowd. Discount stomp. And who designed these f***ing things? Dr. Seuss? It's obvious the Wachowskis decided to put a weird rave scene in the first act of both this and the first Matrix movie. What's not obvious is f***ing why. We haven't had sex in ages, we're dying to fuck, but hang on a few minutes while I light all these candles. So here we are at the 30-minute mark, dancing, PG-13 sex in an R-rated movie, hardly any ass kicked at this point, and we're at the exact same spot plot-wise as we were 20 minutes ago. This is sort of like Neo thinking about baseball so he doesn't climax too soon. Also, did the orgasm make him think about the nightmare, or did the nightmare assist in the orgasm?
All that matters is this.
Wait, what? They obviously can't take physical items with them through the phone line, so is this envelope symbolic? The fuck? I am so confused right now. Does this mean that if Neo answered the call intended for Trinity, he could be inside Trinity? That sounds really dirty, but seriously, once Agent Smith takes this dude's body, why does the phone call transportation system still allow him to transport? I figure you have to contain the same DNA of the guy you're transporting into, or else the Matrix wouldn't allow it, right?
I just haven't been able to sleep much.
We interrupt this Matrix sequel to bring you boring.
Old men like me don't bother with making points.
This movie is definitely going to make up for its violation of the ass-kicking protocol later on, but the question is, will I still be awake by the time it gets there?
Neo is from the Oracle.
Wait, that's not the important message from the envelope that can't possibly have come through the phone line from a computer program into the physical world, is it?
You know I don't believe in this stuff.
But I do. It's always brought me luck.
You maintain a belief system that is based on luck? You know, it took me a while to figure out this was Agent Smith inside this dude's body. I mean, we saw him twice, but both times he wore sunglasses or was in shadows. So, at this point, he just seems like the random dude who hates Neo, or Discount Cypher from the first movie. Neo! Stupid kid ex machina.
Bane.
Seriously, this dude's name is Bane? Did his parents know that one day he would be possessed by Agent Smith and become a bad guy? Batman much?
Good luck.
So he could easily stab Neo right now, right? Neo isn't in the Matrix, doesn't have access to his badass powers, and there are a million Agent Smiths in the Matrix, so even if he fails and dies, who cares? You were going to take a chance and stab him in the back, so why not now? Also, why a knife? This dude has access to guns, right?
Or am I still in charge of our defense?
Oh look, more talking! I like Kung Fu as much as the next guy, but is it always supposed to be this boring?
I had to be sure. Of what? That you are the one.
That dumbass fight we just saw proves Neo is the one. Also, Seraph plays the stop short game so that Neo has to ask him what the hell he meant by I had to be sure.
You do not truly know someone until you fight them.
Movie sets up a ridiculously delicious premise, but then never delivers on it by having something unexpectedly badass happen. Like Neo having to fight Morpheus or Trinity or someone he thinks he knows in order to find out they're actually traitors or something. Instead, no, just a saying. F you, Angel Dude.
You do not truly know someone until you fight them.
Also, I keep telling my potential girlfriends that, but I always end up bloodied at the antique shop.
The ones doing their job, doing what they were meant to do, are invisible.
I think the movie could basically have started here. Sentinels are going to attack Zion. Let's go to the Oracle. Awesome ideas about the Matrix and Rogue programs. Boom! This is the scene that finally sets the movie into motion.
Because you're the one.
That's not what you said last time.
Seems like every time we meet, I got nothing but bad news.
No, you got nothing but riddles and instructions, lady. You have never had anything resembling news. Hey, can I go back with you guys? Can you send me to a place where I can get out of here? No? Okay, I'll fight 100 Agent Smiths then. Oh well. So this fight goes on for 6 minutes. Agent Smith was a formidable adversary in the first movie, but hundreds of Agent Smiths are no match for Neo in this one. Feel free to use the restroom at this point. This fight is a lot of sound and fury signifying nothing. Wait, this is a place where any asshole can walk by and see this? If so, why is this the first person stumbling on this fight? Neo gets punched in the face a zillion times, but his glasses keep on ticking. This reminds me, why doesn't Neo just go ahead and fly the hell out of here? Rubber Neo number 2. Also, this is a classic example of a scene that looked fantastic on the big screen opening weekend, but then can never really be viewed at home again without the experience being soiled by how obvious the CGI becomes. Finally, the 100 Agent Smiths get smart and pile on Neo, instead of doing the one-by-one silliness that all bad guys do in fights like this, but even that proves totally pointless. Neo could crush Superman with his penis if he wanted to. Haha, they can't fly. But why? I mean, he can in the next movie. He's not a human being, he's a computer program, but he still somehow has to earn or learn the ability to fly?
Now there's more than one of them. How is that possible? I don't know.
No worries, I'm sure they're just waiting to explain that in the third movie. Right? Right?
Comprehension is not a requisite of cooperation.
This motherfucker sounds just like a machine. Let's get him! Also, harmonica necklace.
Because some things never change, Jason, and some things do.
Why don't any of these citizens turn into an agent when they see Neo and Morpheus? Morpheus is a dick to people who don't want to use the stairs. Why don't any of the citizens eating at the Merovingian's restaurant turn into agents when they see Neo and Morpheus in there?
Action, reaction, cause, and effect.
Since when do programs get so damn wordy and preachy? Every character Neo runs into in this movie has a master's degree in philosophy.
Truth is, we are completely...
Cake orgasm.
I am so sick and tired of his bullshit. On and on. Pompous prick.
Man, lots of people in this movie keep saying what the audience is thinking.
A kiss.
I'm gonna help you, but only if you kiss me, cliche. What? That's not a cliche? That's just completely stupid? Okay, well, no cliche, but still plenty of sin for this bullshit. Come on. I mean, this is Monica Bellucci, man. Make that shit count. Kissing her like you do Trinity would not be hard. You know I'm serious about this because I'm taking off my sunglasses. This kitchen doesn't have the end fight scene from the Raid 2 happening in it right now.
They do his dirty work.
Why the long introduction when you're just gonna kill them?
How many people keep silver bullets in their gun?
Wait, these guys are werewolves? The Oracle said stuff like that was possible. Now the movie's forcing me to debate whether it's better that we never see the werewolves or just be happy that I got the reference. I'm torn.
You can either run to the restaurant and tell my husband what I have done, or you can stay there and die.
Persephone lets one henchman live to tell the husband because promise to help implies simultaneous promise to harm, apparently. That's racist. Nobody here has any powers that can make this fight interesting either. We interrupt this Matrix sequel to bring you the Force. Also, why doesn't he do that kind of shit more often? Also, why is he even using weapons anymore after realizing he can do shit like that? So this is still going. You know, fights aren't good because they're longer. They're only good when you feel like the hero could be in danger. Okay, so I understand that the keys change the rooms that you go into, but how do you change a room from the outside and not be in that same room yourself? See, here are guys who should be fighting Neo. These dudes have amazing powers and would present a challenge, but they're the only characters in this whole movie who do anything cool. We have the ability to become vapor. How do we ever get into this car? Is the knife part of this twins program, where it turns to vapor when he turns to vapor? If not, why doesn't he just turn other things into vapor by touching them? That could come in handy. You know what this movie needs? Some good slow motion about now, for no reason. Oh, awesome! Yeah, bullet holes appear and disappear all over this scene, but we aren't really into nitpicking little details like that. Are these people somehow oblivious to the f***ing war zone that has been coming up on their ass for 5 minutes? F***ing Oakland, man. Also, empty highway behind Chase is super empty.
Shots fired.
Where the f*** has this radio guy been this whole time? He's just now calling in shots fired? Dude, you are fired. Now that he's out of bullets, now's the time to vaporize over to the other car. Where did all this f***ing traffic behind them come from? Wait, so while the agent does this, what is the twin doing? He has an absolutely huge opening to kill Morpheus and Trinity and make off with the Keymaker. This van is honking, I guess, for the incredible scene of watching a guy turn into vapor and land in the middle of the freeway unharmed. I mean, are the people who live inside the Matrix muggles or something? They don't see magic right in front of them? This computer program cop has terrible aim. Conveniently timed truck with convenient motorcycles is convenient. These two make this jump, but only through the power of editing. How the hell are agents coming from all over leaping into all these f***ing drivers and smashing the hell out of her in the Keymaker? I guess this is the only person on the entire freeway who noticed the motorcycle. What? How did these cops know to drive down the exit ramp? And how could they be sure it was a completely empty exit ramp that they could enter the freeway with? Cool shot, but as we've seen, people getting possessed by agents go through all these convulsions before changing. The placement of the sword on the side of the truck jumps several feet between him stabbing it and him needing to stand on it. The next action I take will require the removal of my sunglasses. Oh look, the sword jumped back up to the top of the truck just in time for him to grab it in his hour of need. Gotcha. What?
Then you're meant for one more thing. Deletion.
Okay, so do it already. Why has the agent not already killed the Keymaker 5 times by now?
Neo? If you're out there, I could use some help.
Morpheus says a prayer to Neo, and it's answered. Of course Neo saves the day. No one in this scene enters it at any time other than the exact perfect second. We interrupt this Matrix sequel to bring you a teaser trailer for the next one.
There is a building. Inside this building, there is a level where no elevator can go.
Welcome to the most confusing scene in movie history. Up is down, left is right, and everything is happening all at once, and not at all, while also being discussed and explained in what appears to be the same room where Neo first met Morpheus, which would be a stupid place for them to go, but like I said, there's so much wrong and weird with this entire scene, I'm just gonna roll the dinger for a couple seconds.
Bomb. Did he say bomb?
You know, pound for pound, Roy Jones is the worst actor they could have gotten to say this terrible line.
But like all systems, it has a weakness.
Of course it does. Sure, as Morpheus said, there are no accidents. Just really convoluted ways to get Trinity into the Matrix when Neo doesn't want her in there.
In 5 minutes, I'll tear that whole goddamn building down.
Yeah, we saw the dream at the beginning of the movie. Too bad there's no suspense now. Well, this timing is perfect, actually. Do you mind fighting with us for a little bit? Just for a few moments while our friends fix the power station crisis that we don't even know about so that we don't die when we open the door? Awesome.
Hold it right there, little lady.
Guard sees badass chicken leather walk into a restricted area and thinks of the words little lady. The Mr. Smiths behind Neo are just f***ing worthless. They let Neo do whatever he needs to do before attacking him again. Also, some of these Mr. Smiths are obviously not Hugo Weaving. Mr. Smith goes to Bowlington.
You'll know which door. Hurry, Neo.
Man, this dude was riddled with bullets, but thankfully he had exactly enough breath to give Neo the instructions.
You'll know which door.
Yep, it's so obvious.
I am the architect.
Remember that earlier scene that I said was the most confusing one in movie history? Yeah, about that. See, I hadn't actually watched any further than that point in the movie when I said that.
Here goes some of my answers you will understand, and some of them you will not.
It's a convenient thing to say when the audience decides they have no clue what the f*** is going on.
You old white prick!
Did he say you old white prick? 'Cause that's racist. So Link told her the bad guys were headed her way and to get the hell out of there, and she goes and waits for the elevator?
Thus I redesigned it.
You can tell this is a movie from 2003 when George W. Bush gets equated to Hitler.
There are 2 doors. The door to your right leads to the source and the salvation of Zion. The door to your left leads back to the Matrix, to her, and to the end of your species.
So basically no different from the choice Batman has to make in Batman and Robin. Previously on The Matrix Reloaded.
What was that? It's moving faster than anything I've ever seen.
First off, you know with your whole heart what that is. Second off, it can't be much faster than when Neo came out of the mountains to save Morpheus and the Keymaker from that truck crash at the last minute. This is f***ing awesome. A dozen years before Man of Steel, this movie stole Superman's thunder just a little bit. And by the same studio, too.
Holy shit, he caught it.
I know, amazing. You saw this before, remember? Also, at the speed Neo was flying, wouldn't this basically have been like a 747 crashing into Trinity? We'll explain his hand somehow reaching into her with the use of green digital characters. Also, I don't know whether I'm supposed to think this is amazing or be turned on. Why didn't he just pull the bullet out with the Force? Neo has been powered up from Superman Jesus to God Almighty.
I can't take this.
I really relate to this guy. This guy is the audience, only my amazement is more anger-based than his.
Guess this makes us even.
Yeah, you saved me with a miracle kiss that shouldn't have worked. I reached inside your body and took a bullet out and restarted your heart. But yeah, we're even. Women.
That's impossible.
Someone in a sci-fi movie declares something impossible cliché.
I have dreamed a dream.
We interrupt this second Matrix movie to bring you Les Miserables. Movie has the balls to come up with a fantastic cliffhanger ending after 2 hours of relative boredom.
It's the hammer.
The hammer is my penis. Also, weren't there way more than just 3 of those Sentinels back when they threw the bomb? Aren't the rest of them right behind those first 3 and killing all these fools right about now? Here's a cliffhanger ending for your ass. By the way, I had already sort of forgotten about Mr. Smith Bane and what he looked like, so seeing him upside down does me no favors. First time I saw this, I was like, who the f*** is that? Evil Neo? Come back in 6 months, we guarantee you'll be less pissed off about this movie then.
It's a bomb. Bomb. Did he say bomb?
Everyone, listen up. At the edge of our hope, at the end of our time, we have chosen not only to believe in ourselves, but in each other.
We will not go quietly into the night. We will not vanish without a fight. We're going to live on. We're going to survive. Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
What are you thinking right now?
Yes, Steve, don't come yet.
You feel this? I'll never let go.
Magnetic field.
All right, guys, listen to this blues riff and B. Watch me for the changes and try and keep up, okay?
Introducing Hooked on Tuesday at Bonefish Grill, our new 3-course Tuesday menu with your choice of salad, an entree like wood-grilled.
Thank you, Senator. So grateful for you, sir. You'll have a seat right down the side. Obviously, just a few minutes here with some questions. These questions, sir, are from our student body. I think you're going to... We opened up to our student government the opportunity for questions to come your way, and a lot of questions poured in. I think these few questions, just in the few minutes that we have with you, will represent the main thoughts on the hearts of our students, the main things that they wanted to know. I think that you're going to find a lot of commonality, obviously, in wanting to see someone go to work and get paid more for it, wanting to see children not be hungry, wanting to see the reality of just racism being erased out of this country. You're going to find a lot of commonality in, obviously, for college students to hear from you that public higher education could be free in this country. So anybody who's 19 is going to be excited about free college. The question isn't so much the commonality in wanting to see those things, but how do we get there? And so in that kind of mindset, just a little bit about how we would get there. As far as race inequality is concerned, this question from one of our students. If you were, sir, were elected president, what would you do to bring healing and resolution to the issue of racism in our country? We both want to see that go away. What steps would you begin to take if you were our leader in seeing that resolved?
That is an excellent question. I thank you for it. I would hope and I believe that every person in this room today understands that it is unacceptable to judge people, to discriminate against people based on the color of their skin.
Yes.
And I would also say that as a nation, the truth is that a nation which in many ways was created, and I'm sorry to have to say this, from way back on racist principles, that's a fact, we have come a long way as a nation. Now I know, my guess is that probably not everybody here is an admirer or a voter for Barack Obama. But the point is that in 2008, this country took a huge step forward, David, in voting for a candidate based on his ideas and not the color of his skin. And whether you like Obama or not, and I do, he is a friend of mine and I work with him on many issues, that is a step forward for America. But let me also say what everybody here knows, and my thoughts having just returned from South Carolina, we all know to what degree racism remains alive in this country. I cannot understand, I really can't, I think about it, I try to understand it, how a sick man can walk into a Bible study class, discuss the Bible, pray with people in the room, and then take out a gun and kill 9 of them because the color of their skins were different than his. And I cannot understand for the life of me how there can be hundreds of groups in this country whose sole reason for existence is to promote hatred. These are hate groups.
Right.
And they say, join us so we can hate African Americans or gays or Jews or immigrants or anybody that is different from us. I can't understand that. But let us be clear that when you have unarmed African Americans shot by police officers, something which has been going on for years, that is also institutional racism and cries out for reform. I am a former mayor who's worked closely with police officers. Vast majority of them are honest, work hard, and do a very good job. But when a police officer breaks the law, as is the case with any other public official, that officer must be held accountable. That's justice. And there is a lot to be done in terms of our criminal justice system, in terms of minimal sentencing, in terms of local police departments which look like armies that are invading a community. But to answer your question, I think what we have got to do is when we see instances of racism, when we hear political leaders appealing to the worst elements of us by making racist attacks against people from another country, or people whose color may be different than most of us, we have got to stand up and say, in America, you're not going to do that. Racism is unacceptable.
Yes, sir. We couldn't agree with you more on that thought. We would say, I think I speak for many of our students, that it's not so much a skin issue as much as it is a sin issue. That we can change the behavior. We could change the behavior of police. We could put cameras on them all day long, but behavior modification can only stop so short as identity change. And
Need a website? Go to Wix.com. Just add your photos. Change your texts. Drag and drop anything. Create your stunning website today. Go to Wix.com. It's easy and free.
Opening credit font made possible by Sega Master System. Reading. If you enter this latitude and longitude into your computer somewhere, you'll find that you're in China, not Bakersfield, California.
Food riot in progress.
Computer system with the graphics capability of a Commodore 64 can determine that it's a food riot and that no weapons are present.
Approximately 1,500 civilians, no weapons evident. Proceed.
Also, Ben somehow knows this despite the fact that the computer gives him all the information after he tells command.
Repeat that code. Okay.
Unnecessary orders. Perfectly valid code doesn't work when you're getting shot at, cliché. Bullshit security system knows how to concentrate all its energy into exploding the human head. Okay, so this is clearly the last guy they had to kill to escape the prison, and he had no gun. So after they killed the one last guy with the gun, the computer dude should have been easy to pick off well before this poor bastard Chico got his head blown up.
You guys want to buy a hot stereo?
Movie gets Dweezil Zappa so that he can quote lyrics from I'm the Slime.
The Nintendo is popular enough that plenty of people in
Dumbest
Hollywood are
security
getting sick of
code
being asked
ever.
about making them,
Also,
and
why
because
does this
clickbaiters
thing
can only
have
run
numbers
so many
10?
happy headlines about a thing before the fly strip gets full and they have to change flavors to negative to keep the traffic going. I really have no interest in engaging the question, mainly because nobody actually wants it answered. The question, will superhero movies die, is actually film journalist code talk, for I am not particularly interested in covering this genre anymore, so when can I expect it to no longer be the dominant topic of conversation? Not that I don't sympathize, I also write about video games, and it'd be nice to know when we're no longer talking so much about what's to be done with overpopulation among Eumetopius jubatus and Alligatoridae mississippiensis. The latest round of this was touched off by Steven Spielberg, stating that he believes the genre will sooner than later go the way of the Western, which led director Zack Snyder to opine that Spielberg was probably right, except for the trio of superheroes he's currently directing 3 movies about. Now, far be it from me to try and out-film history Steven Spielberg, but I would point out that it's an unfair comparison because the huge generational changes in the public perception of an actual period in history that ultimately led to the decline of the Western genre probably doesn't apply to fictional comic book universes. For example, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has made audiences all over the world fall in love with a guy named Captain America, even though those feelings are not always mirrored in regards to the actual America these days. That's kind of impressive when you think about it. Anyway, I mean, hell, remember this genre died before and didn't really die? Remember that? When Batman and Robin came out and killed the entire genre? Yeah, that time around, Death lasted a whole 13 months, and then Blade came out and was a huge big hit, and then X-Men came out and was a huge big hit, and then Spider-Man came out and was a massive worldwide phenomenon, and now here we are. So that's that. No, the genre isn't dying, that's not even an interesting question, move along, done, mic drop. But you know what is interesting, is the question of whether or not the genre is even going to slow down anytime soon, or if that's something that just isn't going to happen anymore in the age of multimedia franchising. See, while westerns didn't die, they did decline from being a massive part of the film industry's output to something we only get a couple of every few years, and I wonder if that level of change in terms of cultural presence is even possible anymore, for superheroes or for anything else. The fact is, the digital age has hyper-accelerated the life cycle of things coming into and out of popularity almost to the point where a movie franchise can go from biggest thing ever to over to retro cool again in between its own sequels. Look, I'm 34. I got to live half my life to this point in the age before the internet, and I sometimes feel like my generation is the last one that's going to experience nostalgia in its true uncut memories of beloved things lost to time form. I once asked a group of mostly 18 to 20-year-olds if they already felt nostalgia for stuff they grew up with like Power Rangers or Pokemon, and the response was largely, "What do you mean nostalgia? Those things never went away. Even their TV shows are still on, with new episodes in the same ongoing continuity. I mean, shit, forget the superheroes for a minute. Look at Star Wars. Star Wars isn't even a genre, it's a single franchise that might as well be one. There hasn't been a good movie in this series since 1983, but it never really went away in terms of toys and comics and all the other cross-media business, and now we're about to have not only a new Star Wars trilogy, but also a world where at least one new Star Wars-related movie is in theaters every year, along with new comics, TV shows, books, and games unified to a degree that'll make the Marvel continuity feel like kindergartners playing telephone. And even without all that, will we ever really be able to say that Star Wars is done for even a little while when Disney is keeping an entire Star Wars World theme park running 365 days a year in Orlando? It's honestly starting to feel to me like the real model for popular media going forward in the age of franchises and multimedia is The Simpsons. No, really. Remember, when The Simpsons first appeared, it immediately became one of the biggest entertainment institutions on the planet, generating a glut of mostly Bart-themed merchandise based around merchandising to kids while remaining an untouchable high-watermark TV for about a decade, but then gradually became merely incredibly popular instead of omnipresent and not necessarily appointment viewing, even as the merchandising ramped up to higher levels than before, largely by shifting to the adult collector market. Now, especially in the wake of how big a deal that marathon turned out to be last year, hindsight reveals The Simpsons, which has been declared dead multiple times, as a phenomenon that's gone through peaks and valleys in perception, but has never gone away culturally. And even once it ends, and it will eventually end, the ubiquity of this property in the collective conscious, and you know, that one cable channel that pretty much exists only to show Simpsons reruns, means that it's probably never going away. It's just going to hover forever as a permanent element of the pop culture oxygen supply in between the inevitable movie sequels, reunion specials, and reboots. And I really feel like that's where Marvel, DC, Star Wars, and who knows what next are all going. Anything remotely popular is just gonna hang around now. The internet has basically destroyed the concept of entropy in art and entertainment. Nothing goes away, nothing gets forgotten. In 2025, is a new guy playing Tony Stark, or did the Iron Man armor just keep changing hands through consistent continuity? That's where we're going. Is that bad? I don't know. No one does. It's an entirely new cultural paradigm with no real historical precedent, so it should be exciting if nothing else. But for now, sorry, our superhero movies dying film press people. In a couple of years, your outlet will still be frantic for coverage of a Squirrel Girl casting announcement, and the guy or gal on staff who doesn't have to make any calls to the research department because they grew up with a copy of the official handbook under their pillow, they're probably gonna get it over you. So my advice, pull up Wikipedia and start making some notes. Did you enjoy the show? If you did, please remember to like it, subscribe to this channel, share it with all of your friends, and tell Screw Attack you want to see more just like it. Remember to check out our great previous episodes and also our other brand new show, The Game Overthinker. Thank you for watching. In Bob we trust. New show, The Game Overthinker. Thank you for watching. In Bob we trust. New show, The Game.
You can't change who you are, what you are.
You see any people with powers around here?
That the brutally violent yet exceptionally well-reviewed action feature Mad Max Fury Road would actually come in second place versus Pitch Perfect 2, a low-budget comedy sequel about a group of young women competing in a singing contest. The director, called into question because of what some saw as an over-reliance on fat jokes, racial stereotypes, and other decidedly retrograde forms of punching down humor, whereas Mad Max caught blowback of an entirely different kind. The notorious anti-woman hate site Return of Kings published a laughable but instantly viral takedown of the yet unseen film, which it declared to be feminist propaganda. Implicit message genuinely seeming to be that it was blustering, domineering macho daddy figures like the evil Immortan Joe that destroyed the world in the first place, and that redemption lies in the opposite direction under Theron's Imperator Furiosa. Now, being aggressively anti-masculinist isn't necessarily the same thing as being feminist. Outlets for its strong heroine and roundly referred to as a feminist action movie, a pairing of words you don't often see unless... Now, I don't agree with that particular
through 12.
Are you ready for pay?
2 movies in 1987, this one and Predator, feature 2 future governors. What's the sync out now, California and Minnesota? Future newscasts make
public defenders, the only people who appear in court more frequently than former child stars. Even if you have never come into contact with a public defender, you will know them from their important cameo in the Miranda warning speech.
You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney.
You have the right to an attorney?
You have the right to an attorney.
You have the right to an attorney.
You have the right to an attorney?
What is this shit?
You have the right to an attorney. If you can't afford an attorney, we will provide you with the dumbest f***ing lawyer on earth.
I have the right to an attorney too, pal. And if I can't afford one must be provided for me by the court.
Yes, apparently even Garfield knows he has the right to a public defender. And he's going to need one too, because he just murdered a lasagna. And a person. The right to a lawyer is a pillar of American jurisprudence, but it's a right that we've only had since 1963, when the Supreme Court unanimously ruled that any person who is too poor to hire a lawyer cannot be assured a fair trial unless a lawyer is provided for him. It's an idea so obvious, you can't believe there was ever a time that we didn't have it. Like corn on the cob holders that are shaped like corn on the cobs. No one should ever have had to come up with those. They're essential to the fabric of American life. The problem is, our public defender system is currently massively overburdened. Depending on the jurisdiction, anywhere from 60 to 90% of criminal defendants need a publicly funded attorney, and the system is creaking under that weight.
Right now, there are about 20 public defenders handling up to 250 cases.
In New Orleans, for example, each public defender handles roughly 350 cases a year.
Public defenders in Fresno County often work on 1,000 cases a year, when state guidelines say they shouldn't be doing more than 150.
1,000 cases in a year. That's nearly 3 cases per day. Those are Gerard Depardieu wine consumption numbers at breakfast. And with caseloads that heavy, public defenders cannot possibly prepare an effective defence. A study in New Orleans a few years back found that the city had some part-time defenders who could only spend an average of 7 minutes per case. And that is not long enough to prepare anything. If I only had 7 minutes to prepare this show, I definitely would not be talking about public defenders right now. I'd be desperately trying to fill time by listing the Muppets in order of f***ability. And I'll do it now. Fozzie first, obviously. Obviously, you go Fozzie first. Most attractive thing is a sense of humour. Then you got to go Rolf. You've got to go Rolf. Then you know what? I'm going Swedish Chef. And I'm finishing up with Sam the Eagle, because you know he's into some freaky business. Freaky. And look, this is just the beginning of the problem. Some places don't even have a public defender's office. And some counties just contract cases out in bulk to the lowest bidder. And at its worst, this can result in a system known as meet 'em and plead 'em, where the vast majority of defendants plead out and never even go to trial.
90 to 95% of all criminal cases, state and federal, are resolved by plea bargaining.
Now, just think about that. About 95% of criminal cases never make it to trial. If Law and Order reflected reality, their episodes would be pretty short. It'd basically just be, how does your client plead? Guilty, Your Honour, and then this. And as a viewer, you would justifiably feel cheated by that. And look, it is easy not to care about this. It's easy to assume that if someone is being represented by a public defender, they're probably guilty. But many are not, and some only plead because they feel they have no alternative. Look at Irma Faye Stewart. She was arrested in a drug sweep, but claimed she was innocent. She faced a 10-year sentence and was stuck in jail because she couldn't afford bail. She said her court-appointed lawyer urged her to take a plea deal, and she reluctantly agreed.
I asked him, what's his name, I could plead for 5-year probation, just let me go home to my kids.
She admitted to a crime she denies committing just to spend time with her children. That is horrifying, especially because I would be willing to commit a crime just to not have to spend time with any children. They are loud cesspools of bacteria with nothing interesting to say. Oh, you want to grow up and be a princess? I'll tell you what happens to princesses, Ashley. Google Diana plus truth. Do it. Do it. Google it. Google it. Google it, Ashley. Open your eyes. Being a princess ain't fun, Ashley. Now, after Irma pled guilty, the prosecution's case collapsed, and the other defendants who didn't take a plea deal had their charges dropped. But Irma could not take her plea back. So she had to spend 5 years on probation, during which she was ineligible for some form of public assistance and wound up homeless. And that is the problem with a system that can allot as little as 7 minutes to helping people make decisions that can affect you for the rest of your life. Our public defender system is dangerously under-resourced. One report found out that 40% of all county-based public defenders have no investigators on staff. That's 40% of lawyers forced to sit at their desks Googling where to get exonerating evidence and hitting "I'm feeling lucky." And the offices those desks are in could potentially lack basic standards of workplace health and safety.
Tough to do your job when you're competing with countless roaches crawling around your office, but that is the work environment endured by employees at Augusta's Public Defender's Office, and it's so bad that the office had to close early today. And this infestation is nothing new. Oh, it's been going on for 4 years.
That office is getting to a point where roaches are outnumbering the lawyers. And unless one of those roaches happens to have a law degree from the University of Rochester and can help take on some clients, that's going to be a problem. As for New Orleans, their public defender's office has actually put up a crowdfunding page to help make up their budget shortfall. And it's currently only raised 19% of its goal. And look, nobody should be in jail because a Kickstarter didn't meet its goal. If anything, some people should be in jail because a Kickstarter did meet its goal, like this one for an actual giant inflatable Lionel Richie head. You two gentlemen should be locked up all night long. All night, all night, all night long. All night, all night. Hey, Jumper Jumper. Hey, Jumper Jumper. But despite all these enormous challenges, there are still some amazing lawyers, like Travis Williams. He frames every acquittal and puts it on his wall. But guess where he puts his losses?
I'm gonna get the last name of every case I've lost tattooed on my back. Right now it's only 5, and hopefully I won't fill my back up. That's the goal. But since the wins go on the wall, I decided the losses have to go somewhere, and they'll go on my back, because they're gonna be with me forever.
He tattoos the names of the cases he's lost on his back. That is a truly heroic lawyer. He's like Atticus Finch, only real and not, as it turns out, a horrible racist. Screw you, Finchy, go f*** a mockingbird. The point is, many public defenders do heroic work despite facing overwhelming institutional obstacles, including this incredible incident involving a Florida judge.
Stop pissing me off. Just sit down. I'll take care of it. I don't need your help.
No,
sit
you know
down.
what? I'm the public defender. I have a right to be here, and I have a right to stand and represent
sit
my
down.
clients.
If you want to fight, let's go out back and I'll just beat
Let's go
your
out
ass.
Now, that is clearly a disgrace, although I will say, fights like that would make jury duty a lot more interesting.
If you want to fight, let's go out back and I'll just beat
Let's go
your
out
ass.
Now, that is clearly a disgrace, although I will say, fights like that would make jury duty a lot more interesting. Your Honour, we have reached a verdict. We find the proceedings to be f***ing awesome! Incidentally, that judge returned to the courtroom and called 7 cases without the public defender being present, and he's still on the bench. And look, a bad judge can come and go, as the head of programming at NBC will tell you. But access to a lawyer is supposed to be a constitutional right, and it is increasingly under threat. For instance, in 4 states, you can make so little that you qualify for food stamps, but still not be poor enough to get state-funded representation. And in at least 43 states, you can be billed for a public defender. Meaning, in these states, we have a system where, conceivably, if you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you, provided that you pay that attorney. Which is absurd. You can't tell people something's free and then charge them for it. This is the American judicial system, not Candy Crush. And for what this can look like on a human level, meet Larry Thompson. In 2010, he was arrested in Florida for driving with a revoked licence, which was a felony charge because he'd had multiple driving violations before. Larry was sent to jail, where he applied for a public defender, which in Florida, incredibly, requires a $50 application fee. He couldn't afford to pay that or his bail, so he was stuck in jail for 59 days, at which point he gave up and pled no contest to get out and was released on time served. But in Florida, if you use a public defender and are found guilty, even by plea, you then owe attorney's fees and costs regardless of your ability to pay. So Larry now owed not just the $50 public defender application fee, but also an extra $100 fee for having used the public defender, and even another fee of $100 to pay the prosecution's costs, which is like a bully taking your lunch money and then charging you an additional lunch money reallocation fee. But they still weren't done. On top of those and other fees for the crime he pled no contest to, the court then added partial payment fees each month for the next several months, bringing Larry's tab to $675. And that all brings us to about a month ago, when Larry was actually arrested for contempt of court as a result of not paying those fees. An arrest, incidentally, for which they charged him a $210 administrative fee. At this point, they may as well have just slapped on an irony fee for good measure, because it turns out having no money in Florida can be really f***ing expensive. Oh, and one more thing. When they arrested Larry, he was receiving hospice care for a terminal pulmonary condition and was so ill, the jail was forced to send him to the hospital, where he was watched by 2 guards and chained by his ankles to his hospital bed. Luckily, he was eventually released and his debt was paid by donors who'd heard his story. But he still, understandably, could not quite believe what had just happened to him.
I never knew they would actually arrest a person in my condition for not being able to pay money, because I have to pay rent. So I can't see them keep arresting me over and over to take me back to jail, to charge me $250 more that I have to agree to, or else I'm sitting in jail when I can't get oxygen in jail like I need it. So they issuing me a death sentence.
None of this makes any sense. It doesn't even make fiscal sense, because the state of Florida did collect the $885 in fines that Larry owed them, but in doing that, they spent thousands of dollars needlessly imprisoning him, and surely Florida could have used that money for something they badly need, like, I don't know, rehab programs for meth-addicted swamp raccoons. I'm assuming accurately. But the point is, 50 years after the Supreme Court gave everyone the fundamental right to an attorney, even if you can't afford one, we now have a system where the most vulnerable people are potentially being charged for access to a hideously broken system. And we either need to fix that, or at the very least, update the Miranda warning in our cop shows to reflect reality.
Hey, freeze!
You have the right to remain silent.
You have the right to remain silent.
You have the right to remain silent.
Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney,
one will be provided for you.
I get it.
Hey, we're not done.
I'm not done.
I'm not finished.
That attorney may have 300 other cases that he or she is working on.
That's not a joke.
Literally
300 other cases. They could potentially have a total of 7 minutes to prepare your defense.
Do you know how short 7 minutes is? You know how short 7 minutes is?
Billy Joel's scenes from an Italian restaurant is 37 seconds longer than that.
Bottle of red.
That attorney.
That attorney may be exhausted, unable to think straight.
The attorney is likely to be grossly underpaid.
Or working in an office crawling with cockroaches.
You know what really blows?
That attorney may pressure you to take a guilty plea.
Statistically,
there's a 90+% chance that you will take that guilty plea.
that attorney may get challenged to a fight in the hallway by a judge.
That happened.
Guess where? I don't know.
Guess!
Come on, guess.
Florida?
Of course it was Florida. How could it not be Florida?
I want everything.
One more thing, that attorney that was provided for you may not be free.
If you lose, you may have to pay him.
You might even have to pay the prosecutor.
Is that constitutional? It's constitutional as you piece of shit!
And all this assumes that we can even pay for that lawyer. How's the Kickstarter campaign doing?
No, not even close.
Not good at all.
Now, do you understand your rights as I have explained them to you?
No.
What?
No.
Basically, you're
Bail. We're so used to it, it has become a fixture of American life.
Down here at the shore, 1 minute you got 3 girls in a jacuzzi, next minute somebody's in jail, and you have to bail them out. That's what happens down at the shore.
The other thing that happens down at the shore, chlamydia. Just a medically astounding rate of chlamydia. At its heart, America's bail system sounds pretty simple. If you're charged with a crime, the court might ask for an amount of money as bond and then return it to you once you show up for trial. And if you have that money, it's no big deal. But if you don't, you can be in big trouble. Just look at one example, a man called Miguel. He was arrested for driving with a suspended license. The court set bail at $1,000 and he had a choice, pay it or await a trial in Rikers Island. And I'll let Miguel and his wife take the story from there.
I wouldn't wish Rikers on my worst enemy because it's rough.
It was hard because I had to try to borrow money from this person and this person and this person.
I am so tired of these ads.
I found people prefer to watch the video they wanted to watch. I found people prefer to watch the video they wanted to watch.
The worst is when a brand tries to make the ad tie in with what you're watching. The worst is when a brand tries to make the ad tie in with what you're watching.
Speaking of, I go to Hotels.com. Did you know that when I need a hotel, they have genuine reviews from people who have actually stayed there, which are much more honest. From people who have actually stayed there, which are much more honest.
I'm in an ad, aren't I?
That's why you were paid for this.
I'm in an ad, aren't I?
That's why you were paid for this.
Hotels.com. In that case, the obvious choice.
His voice is way better than mine. His voice is way better than mine.
What's going on, guys? The summer movie season is coming to a close. Labor Day is just about here. Kids are going back to school. There are going to be less explosions in the upcoming movies, more Oscar buzz, and we're going to talk about what we have in store. And we've got an awesome panel to discuss it with. We've got the Dream Team profiles with Malone and Nate. Love Tarantino, but we're going to tell people what else we're looking forward to. So let's kick this off. Alicia?
Well, I'm going to cheat a bit and talk about one that I've already seen. I saw it at the Cannes Film Festival. It's Sicario, and that comes out September 18. Emily Blunt, Benicio del Toro, Josh Brolin, and it's directed by Denis Villeneuve, who did Prisoners and Enemy.
Yeah, so what's got you excited about Sicario?
It has that same breakneck pace as Prisoners. I mean, Prisoners, I almost did myself, did not want to...
Really pumped
Yeah, I liked that one.
Yeah. Excellent.
Christian Bale.
With Christian Bale. Very, very intense
dark,
movie.
gritty.
Really dark, gritty, intense. And this film, Johnny Depp, he plays the South Boston gangster, James Whitey Bulger, based on a true story, one of the most notorious gangsters in the country.
If nobody sees it, didn't happen.
When was the last time you really saw Johnny Depp in an Oscar-worthy performance that didn't have the word pirates in the title?
Dude, I am hoping this is a return to form, quality acting, cautiously optimistic. And if you want to learn more about Whitey Bulger, there's a great book.
Our current times with the real estate bust. And Michael Shannon plays a real estate broker who owns all these homes. He's very, very wealthy, but he is the kind of sort of bad guy you love to hate because
that's putting you on the
Tear
me apart, Lisa!
This one stars Brie Larson, and she plays a mother to a young son who was born inside this one room. What happens was they were kidnapped when she was younger. She had this child within the room, so that's the only thing that he knows is this one room, and it's an escape story for them.
Well, another movie that's based on a book does look and feel like a return to form for Ridley Scott. It's been a while since he's had like a really, really great movie. I'm so Walk. It comes out September 30th. This is directed by another one of my all-time favorite directors, Robert Zemeckis. This is based on the true account. It's a true covers 3 chapters in his life and his work. He's so versatile.
Hockey fan. He's overdue.
What's a guy Leonardo DiCaprio will interview to is easy.
It looks like the movie doesn't let up.
Leonardo DiCaprio will hopefully get nominated for this as well.
Yeah, I think he's overdue.
What's a guy got to do to win an Oscar?
Seriously, come on, Hollywood. Creed. I know this guy's a Rocky fan.
Creed looks good.
I had good.
No hope at all for Creed until I saw the trailer. I originally thought it was going to.
A movie that.
Ghosts are real. This much I know.
Can't wait to go to the movies. Guys, answer M words. What's going on? Big omissions from our lists that no one picked. That was kind of surprising. Mad Max Fury Road, our good friend The Rock's movie San Andreas, and Straight Outta Compton was none of those were on anyone's list.
Yeah. Well, we took so much grief, like in the comments. We were like, "How can you not put Fury Road on your list?" And I mean, we all said it. We wanted to see it. We expected to see it. I think what none of us anticipated was how good that movie was going to be. It looked great, but it was so it exceeded everyone's expectations. Yep.
I actually thought it was going to be as good as it was. My only concern was the marketing. They didn't have a lot of marketing going in. I thought that not a lot of people would go and see it, but I really wanted it on my top 10. I regret not putting it on there now.
Well, I feel like every summer there's a big tentpole movie that all of the critics love and give rave reviews to, and nobody goes to go see it. And that just felt like the one. It felt like it was going to collapse. And now I feel guilty for doomsaying it before even giving it a chance.
A movie like that, and also I was really looking forward to Straight Outta Compton, but I think we were going with our heads too much and not with our hearts enough, and that was one situation.
Straight Outta Compton wasn't on my radar for the top 10. I never even considered it to be in the top 10.
It didn't even occur to me how much free promotion they would get from Dre and Cube going out and talking to everyone.
San Andreas surprises me. I didn't see anything that distinguished it from any of the movies that did lesser business, and it just, I think it's
great for blockbuster.
For a while.
Yeah.
Avengers: Age of Ultron, we all had it at number 1. It wasn't, it was number 2. Made less than the first Avengers. Jurassic World, number 1. Nobody saw that coming. What did we miss?
You know, it was a gamble. You have Jurassic World coming out and Terminator. You would have thought those films would do about the same. They're both resurrecting old franchises. One of them kills it, the other one collapses. And I mean, in quality-wise, I think they're about the same, too.
Really? Oh, wow.
Fighting words?
I'm no fan of Jurassic World, but Terminator Genesis was the worst movie I've seen this year. So, I mean,
worse than Fantastic Four?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I think that for me, Genesis was worse than Fantastic Four.
Wow. Okay.
Get out of here. I have like visceral expressions when I think about Fantastic Four. It's awful.
I want to see the movie about the making of that movie. Because, you know, I've watched the first hour and 20 minutes of it, and I was like, I don't like what Josh Trank is doing, but it's an interesting take on it. And then there's a literal demarcation line where you can see the studio took over and then just became superhero movie.
Slapdash finish.
I almost would have wanted to see the rest of Josh Trank's failure than that slapdash studio ending.
Josh Trank is going to be locked up like Howard Hughes in some basement somewhere just editing his version. Ted 2. Ooh, that was on my list.
Yeah, I couldn't get over the visual of like the teddy bear with the scene with the sperm. I was just like, too much.
That's a shame. I really like him. I liked Ted too. I liked A Million Ways to Die in the West, and I'll just stay in my little bubble liking him and hoping he gets to make more movies.
So as I mentioned earlier, Age of Ultron did worse than Avengers. Ant-Man, it made the top 10, but it was no Guardians. Are we having some superhero fatigue? Are we having some Marvel fatigue?
I think there's a little bit of Marvel fatigue. I think word of mouth is so powerful right now with superhero movies. And I liked Ant-Man a lot. I had a lot of fun watching it.
Yeah.
But there wasn't too much to rave about when I left. It wasn't special. It didn't feel like something I would tell people, you have to see this movie. So I think that word of mouth might have hurt that a little bit.
I actually enjoyed Ant-Man more than Ultron.
I liked Ant-Man more than any other Marvel film. Because to me, the problem with Avengers, Age of Ultron, and with almost every other big movie we saw this year, is it always ends the same with them saying, we're going to destroy the world in the next 20 minutes and less. And they're never going to destroy the world, so who cares?
Yeah.
So I think that the stakes have gotten too big, and that's why I loved Ant-Man. It was small and it was perfect.
Oh, perfect. Female-driven movies. So Pitch Perfect was in the top 10. Numbers 11 and 12 were Spy and Trainwreck. How do we feel about some of the female-driven films this summer?
I feel like the female audience didn't have a lot of options this summer, and I think comedies are always wonderful for female audiences.
Everything ridiculously awkward by having reporters face toward the graphic inserts on a rotating cube.
They told me the last tenant was taken away for...
Amber stops her sentence short for whatever reason so that Ben has to ask her what the hell she's talking about. This guy's occupation is anti-fireworker. I guess the term firefighter becomes too hard to say in 2017? This guy's occupation is interpreter, which should be interpreted as the incorrect spelling of interpreter.
They're all on a censored list.
1987 movie envisions 2017 as a time where cassettes are still the main way to listen to music. Despite the fact that Ben Richards looks like Arnold Schwarzenegger and has a very specific body type, all of the airport security is fooled by a hat and sunglasses. Futuristic Travel Pass doesn't seem to contain any information other than whoever holds this thing is totally legit.
Go on.
Security guy allows unverified couple to walk through simply because all of this is annoying. Futuristic phones advance leaps and bounds from 1987 simply by cutting off the circular earpiece and mouthpiece, but keeps the cord for some reason.
He's wrapped. Knock him out for showtime.
Makes for a dramatic shot, I guess, but they don't have anything they could inject him with that would knock him out for the same amount of time?
Some airport personnel were not so lucky.
Look, I get that the news is controlled by the government and they want to make Ben Richards out to be worse than he is, but there were literally hundreds of witnesses at the airport. If you're going to tell lies no one can refute. Looks like the concept of high-def TVs could be imagined back in 1987, but sticking it out in the middle of a rough area where it could get rained on, peed on, cracked, possibly stolen, and hundreds of other calamities were not a concern at all. Coke's inflation was deemed so crazy in 1987 that the filmmakers figured, yeah, there'll be $6 in 2017. Also, the fictional Cadre Cola is such a big hit that Coca-Cola allows a competitor on their own machine. Either that or Cadre is such a nasty corporation that they forced it on Coke's machine, but then why not make all the choices Cadre if that's the case?
Lucky he didn't kill you, too. Or rape you and kill you. Or kill you then rape you.
This woman seems to find rape appealing. Why the f*** is a mirror down here? Is it so they can get this cool shot? Man, as fast as they're going and as long as this is taking, how deep into the earth are they going in order to play this game? So in the middle of all this nonsense in the filing cabinet, they keep a special section just for the Bakersfield massacre? There's not one file in this cabinet that refers to any other big story. Just random things like air surveillance and burial records and zone control. Also, they keep an unedited version of the Bakersfield massacre in this filing cabinet because f*** covering your tracks.
Here in the locker room.
Why would this game show need a locker room? A person from the audience picks a stalker, and that stalker usually goes out and kills the convict. Are there times they don't kill the convict? Are they on a clock? Are there other stalkers waiting their turn in the unlikely event that the other guy fails? And who the f*** are these people? None of them are stalkers we see later, but here's a bunch of half-naked people hanging out in the locker room nonetheless. Apparently the crowd will be betting on someone called Sub-Zero and not Sub-Zero as originally planned. Sub-Zero conveniently cut a piece of fence post with razor wire on it that Ben conveniently sees while he's fighting for his life so that Ben can conveniently slice Sub-Zero's throat with it.
Here is Sub-Zero! Now, Plane Zero!
Interesting quip, consider